What's up, family? What's up? What's up? What's up? So we're here to have a conversation as usual. And I just finished watching this convo from the Joe Button podcast where they were reacting to Tracee Ellis Ross talking about dating younger men. Now go check out that video because I did speak on it in regards of it being a red flag because one, Tracee Ellis Ross did say partner, and second, she was talking about hiding behind the person. But go check that video out. I will definitely show that video at the end of this video so you can click on it as a recommended video and you can go check that out and then come back and watch this one. But there's a lot to unpack, right? From me watching this Joe Button podcast episode. And some folks are cheering her on, some are confused, others are calling her out the double standards. So let's just keep it real. Not to bash anybody, but just to have a grown, honest conversation because always I want to have a conversation with you guys, family. So now Tracee Ellis Ross, she says she been dating younger men because the guys her age are too traditional, too rigid, too locked into what she calls toxic masculinity, right? Cool. That's her experience. But here's the thing. When people like Melyssa Ford or the podcast host jump in and say, well, Tracy's different and her life isn't the average woman, that's where I raise an eyebrow. But let's check out what he had to say and then I'll elaborate more and we can have a conversation. I just wanted to preface the conversation before we actually got into the clip so you guys know where I'm coming from. Check it out.
If you only want to focus on your lived experience,
well, what else do you go based off
versus getting new experiences?
Well, that's what she's saying. She's accumulating new experiences, dating younger men who seem to have a less traditional way of thinking, and they're a little bit more fluid in their way of thinking and acting. That's what she also goes on to say after that.
So you're sliding.
Whatever you want to describe it as.
She's sliding them. She's sliding them.
Whatever you want to describe. Listen.
That just sound like justifying toxic femininity.
Why is this? What does toxic femininity have to do with this particular situation? She's not sitting up there talking about feminism and being a feminist. Her lived experience is, you're right, she's Diana Ross's daughter. She's been famous since she was in the fucking womb. She's a fucking unicorn. And I use that term because there really is not a lot of women or people that can understand what her life has looked like, being famous from being a child and living, and probably having access to wealth, and then becoming famous in her own right and having an enormous amount of success from girlfriends and then Blackish. Like, her lived experience is extremely unique, and so it's really difficult to apply everyday kind of standards and thoughts to what she's experienced.
Man,
Okay, hold up for a second.
I agree with that.
That was awesome, first of all.
Thank you.
But it's still both of those things can be true.
Yes.
I'm who I am, the same way these
You're right.
Wait, I want to start before I forget, because you asked me a question. I think anybody operating from I think anything that's operating in trauma or rooted in trauma is toxic. Guy or girl.
Ooh.
Okay, so why are you using the word trauma, though?
Because you said she's based on her past life experience.
Lived experience.
And trauma with these types of controlling men.
You all use the word trauma. I just said lived experience.
But
I'm not using the word trauma.
But
you
let me
didn't,
just land.
but he did.
Let me land,
Okay.
and then have a blast with it. When I mentioned getting new experiences, you countered with her lived experience. Mm-hmm. So if you are afraid of new experiences or shaping your experiences to only be one way because of your trauma from your lived experiences,
cut that oven on.
I'm calling that trauma, which is why I highlighted Tracee Ellis Ross's ability to get any man in the world, and there's 7 billion men in the world.
Yeah.
1. 2, I think the mere existence of her contradicts her point. Because her point is, I'm this age. The men that I'm meeting in my age bracket are leftovers. I'm running into the worst of the worst.
Your words, not hers.
I think
That's
Yeah,
what
I ain't get that.
Oh, that's what I'm getting from what. All right, so maybe I'm off base.
I can tell you
got some of that from what she was
I
saying.
got from what she's saying is
The
hey,
dating pool and niggas my age, it ain't it. I heard
I ain't even going that far with it.
Go ahead.
The shit she's been around and she's into, men her age ain't into. And when she try to get into it with them, it's no, and that's where that toxic masculinity part comes in. Because everybody say when you're speaking about fluidity and willing to try and allow other shit, the younger niggas is with that today. So she's like, I like this because I get to do more.
See, I think that's a crock of shit. That men are not a monolith.
I'm not saying a monolith, but
and that's the part I thought Mel ain't.
Men are not a monolith.
They're not.
So don't tell me that there's not a man in your age range.
We playing percentages.
Into some of the things.
We playing percentages. So the nigga she shot at her age range, her percentage at getting off what she might want to get off ain't high.
I'm not mad.
But when you play with the younger ones, I could get it off.
I'm not
and
mad
because
at
of who I am,
but it does,
they're gonna let me do what the fuck I want to do.
But it does come off like I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
Okay, so hold on one second here. Y'all are on the same wavelength with.
I'm agreeing with
which she might be. She might be an undercover freak. Okay, let's put that to the side. You were gonna say something.
I was gonna say that she brought up the men in my age range are X, which is a huge generalism about men her age.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm her age.
Okay.
She 52. I'm 49 years old.
Yeah.
So you can't judge all men
But you're
that.
taken. She does. She's not. She's
please-
not referring to the
Please,
men.
Mel, let me finish
okay,
my
go
sentence.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yo, you can't take all of these men that are in that age range and say that they are all suffering from toxic masculinity. Had a man been on that interview and stated those same exact things about women in his age group, you would have found that offensive. Right? So you don't find it offensive because she brought up her past traumas that Joe said about controlling men or men that were X, all of these negative things that she lived in her past life experiences. If a man was saying that those things and he justified all older women as being X, y'all would say, nah, he just able, he rich, he can control these young bitches because they weak of mind.
See, that's the point I was trying to make. Maybe I articulated myself wrong. What I get from her is there's piss in the dating pool of men her age. And to say that, like putting it in reverse, like a man can't say that because there is a Tracee Ellis Ross out there that is single, successful, and in search of something. Why does she think the same can't be said for her? You can meet somebody.
I
Okay.
think. God, I'm sorry.
So you can throw a rock and hit a podcast of men talking about how used and washed up women over a certain age is. That is a
Don't
fact.
start talking about these incel.
I'm not talking about that. He made a point about if it was in reverse and it was a man saying this sort of thing, in reverse, that we'd be totally offended. Yes, it is offensive, but I can't not hear that because it is so prevalent.
Please address the point.
I'm addressing something that you said. So
I didn't say nothing about no other podcast. I'm talking
no,
about
you made it seem like it was just like what she thought is. You made it seem like if a man said what she said is not like the common shit right now. I can't, I'm trying to say how prevalent that idea is.
Has nothing to
Yeah,
do with
but
what I
the
said.
men that wait, hold up, because I like that. The men that say that, like I just called them, there's a community, there's names for them. Incels, red pill. We talking about Tracee Ellis Ross.
Okay.
See, even that highlights the difference.
Okay, so hold on one second here. Now going back to Tracee Ellis Ross. You cannot be in all places at the same time as it relates to dating. Okay? So, for example, I'm single. Do you know how much advice, unsolicited advice people give?
I'm actually not surprised she's single. But what raises an eyebrow for me is because yes, Tracee Ellis Ross is rich. Yes, she been famous since birth. But relationships, that's the one area where money and fame don't fix everything. And at the end of the day, the things that make a relationship work, communication, sacrifice, shared values, they are the same whether you're Tracee Ellis Ross or Tasha from around the way. You feel me? And let's address this toxic masculinity thing, right? Because I get it, whatever. Some men are controlling, some men ain't involved, or some men aren't evolved, and some are stuck in the past. But labeling a whole age group as toxic just because they're not down with the new trends, that's lazy. Not every man over 50 is walking around with a cane and calling women broad. And not every younger dude is some woke, emotionally available soft boy who's into gender fluidity. So we got to stop generalizing just to defend our choices, right? And the double standards, look, and flipping the script. Now imagine a 52-year-old man said, yeah, I don't date women my age because they're all stuck in their ways. They've been through too much. They're not as open-minded as younger women. I like 25-year-olds because they let me be me. We'll call that man a creep, right? A predator, a narcissist, right? But when a woman says it, it's empowerment. It's brave. Nah. If we being fair, we got to be consistent. Either it's okay both ways or it's weird both ways. You got to pick a side and stand on it. Pick one. So, and another thing that Tracee said and Melyssa echoed is that it's hard out here because women like her don't have a lot of dating options. But let her finish because she's going into talking about how she's single, Melyssa Ford.
Me about dating. A ton. I'm just gonna tell you a lot. You know what you should do? You know where you should go? You know what I was thinking? No, I don't. I didn't ask, but you're gonna fucking tell me anyways. This is what happens to women frequently, is we get unsolicited advice as to where we're supposed to be. It would literally be a full-time fucking job trying to position ourselves to be available to wherever these men are, because you can't be in all places all at the same time and also fucking run your life, have a career. It gets difficult. Like, it's not as simple as everybody wants to make it seem. Like, she's Tracee Ellis Ross, so she should have like pick of the litter. That's not necessarily true.
Oh, you're moving the goalpost.
I'm not moving the goalpost. I'm not moving the goalpost. I'm referencing the things that she was saying. When she talks about, she goes on to talk about, the fact that she's child free and never got married and that sort of thing. I think that even just kind of putting herself out there to even have that conversation was just a level, and you guys are gonna fucking
So brave.
I do think that is brave because she leaves herself very open to a lot of criticism and judgment for people to say that was your choice, you made that choice, blah blah blah. When it's just like life just ebbs and flows and takes you in different directions, and your priorities are what they are. Like, they change vastly. You just can only go with the tools that you have at the moment that you fucking have them.
To say that is against the power of manifestation, by the way.
Okay, I'm not.
To say that life just comes and goes.
I'm not talking.
That just makes everybody sound like a helpless piece.
Sleep?
That just makes. I did, but that just makes everybody sound like a helpless piece of shit.
But not everybody manifests.
Yeah, not everybody.
Not everybody is into manifestation. Not everybody thinks about. That's your bag, and you talk about it constantly. But not everybody thinks about manifestation or believes in manifestation.
Do you think that everybody believes in Do you think that throughout the course of our lives, right?
All right, we're going to leave it there. So let's be honest, right? Because look, the one thing that, like, I'm going to say it again. Another thing that Tracee said and Melyssa echoed is it's hard out here because women like her don't have a lot of dating options. Let's be honest. We all know that woman, beautiful, accomplished, successful, but somehow she's still single. And we're not judging, but if you're constantly saying there's no good men, maybe it's not the pool, maybe it's you, right? Maybe the man that would match you just aren't interested in the version of you that's been crafted over the years. And that's not hate, right? That's not hate. That's just the truth. Because being special doesn't mean love is automatic. Love is still earned, even when you're rich and fine and got it together. Right. So Melyssa Ford said it's getting tiring here. People giving her dating advice. She said women get unsolicited advice all the time. Okay, fair. I'm being objective here as much as I can, people or family. But here's on the other side. When you live loud, when you tell your story publicly, when you sit on mics and share your lifestyle, people are going to respond. And you open the door. You don't got to say, don't judge me after inviting a conversation. And if you choose to live a certain way in your 20s and 30s, cool. But don't act brand new when those choices show up later. Men get hit with that all the time. You should have been more disciplined. You should have saved. You should have saved. You should have settled down. Same applies here. So Look, here's my take on it. Tracee Ellis Ross is entitled to her choices, but her story doesn't mean everyone else is the problem. Dating younger men isn't wrong, but unless you're doing it just to avoid accountability, don't cry toxic every time someone disagrees with your dating logic. And lastly, just keep the same energy. If a man said half the things Tracee said, he'll be trending for all the wrong reasons. So I'm just curious to know what you guys think. Drop a comment below. No filters. Ladies, is Tracee speaking your truth or just projecting? Fellas, would you get away with saying the same stuff? Let's talk about it. Like the video, subscribe and join the family if you're new. Give this video a big thumbs up and help crush that YouTube algorithm. Let the love supersede the hate. Spread that peace, love, and positivity, family. And always stay sharp, stay smart, stay amazing. Peace, family.